Ever get that feeling of deja vu? Well, I am right now because I have to redo the entire intro for this vid right now and try to make it sound like it's gonna fit in the video. And to make a long story short, after uploading that ReZero shitpost, I kind of wanted to do a ReZero overview, so that's what I'm going to be doing in this vid. And also I forgot to mention that while yes, ReZero is kind of an overrated anime, it's still really good. And just because something is overrated doesn't mean it's going to be bad at all. And if you have that mentality where you're like, oh, I'm not going to watch that because that's overrated, you're really going to miss out on a lot of cool stuff. And personally, I didn't really know how overrated ReZero was until after I started watching it. And at that point, it didn't really matter because I had already watched it and enjoyed it and perceived my own opinion on it. At the beginning when I first began to watch, I thought this anime would be similar to the familiar of Zero or Sword Art Online in the sense that the main protagonist gets trapped in this fantasy world, gains a bunch of powers, and somehow gets almost every main female character to fall for him in some sort of generic or goofy way. To say the least, when I began to watch, I received quite the shock by the second half of the first episode as the show had spiraled into a dark turn that was far from my previous expectations, as I had gone in watching this whole thing pretty blind. I'm gonna try and stay minimal on the plot details because I really don't want to spoil this anime for anyone. I really do recommend going in knowing as little spoilers as possible, although I am going to be talking about some of the plot in this video to establish a foundation for the people who haven't really watched it, although I'm going to try and stray away from major spoilers, plot developments, and specific details concerning things that happen later on in the season. The only main issue that I have with the protagonist Natsuki Subaru and the way that his character develops is his constant stubbornness and almost unnatural love at first sight for the first main female character introduced. They develop a little connection in the first episode, but the character development between him and Amelia was pretty minimal in the first season. She felt almost like a supporting character by the mid-season, as she was constantly being portrayed as either the damsel in distress or a character involved in more important matters off screen. This being similar but a lot worse than Asuna's role in Sword Art Online, where she goes from being the main protagonist to the damsel in distress, then a supporting character / love interest for Kirito. Before the events of the anime, the main protagonist was a shut-in house hermit who later described himself as not having done much, despite all of the time and potential that he thought that he had. This characteristic is shown throughout the anime as he rarely does lament on missing his home world at all, which is quite surprising considering that he just got transported there pretty much in 1 second out of nowhere. And I guess that you could say due to this characteristic, he's pretty optimistic at first when he gets thrown into this different world, and he almost treats the situation like a video game. The main catalyst in the show, or I guess you could say the main plot element, is Subaru's involuntary ability to return back to life whenever he dies. However, though, he doesn't respawn 5 seconds later a few dozen meters away like you would in most video games. Rather, he respawns at a save point a lot like Undertale and other RPGs. And the slight connection that I made between ReZero and Undertale was one of the reasons why I got hooked during the first few episodes. The first thing that I thought when I saw Roswell was like, oh my god, this is Mettaton. Holy shit. Like, why does he remind me of Mettaton? Anyways, the main issue with Subaru's save points is that he can't decide when and where he saves, and the save points don't change as frequently. And this power and this aspect of the anime is a little bit disappointing because despite him being able to use this power to eventually gain a happy ending, he ends up many times massively suffering until he gets his shit together and then figures out how to overcome the situation at hand, which, many times, strikes him down a shit ton. Despite my issue with some core parts of the plot in the anime, and also a lack of character development for some core people in the show, there was still a good deal of character development and different personalities in the show that kept the plot pretty interesting. I gotta say though that the first few episodes have kind of a slow start, but things really start to pick up around episodes 4 and 5. It's around this time when more characters are introduced to the show, including fan favorite and in my opinion best girl by a long shot, Rem. What I find really interesting about Rem though is that as the story progresses, her character changes a lot and she really drifts away from her maid duo stereotype, and she develops a completely different character than Rem. A majority of people who've watched ReZero prefer Rem over Amelia simply because she has more screen time with Subaru, clearly becomes more attached and reliable to Subaru than Amelia, had more character development including almost an entire episode dedicated to her backstory, and to top it all off, Rem is just best waifu material, let's be real here. I'm not gonna go into it a whole lot, but by the time you've gotten through 3/4 of the season, you really can't help but feel bad for Rem. I'm sorry, I really wish I could say more, but I just don't want to spoil it for anyone watching who might be interested in checking it out, but yeah, you're gonna feel pretty sorry for Rem. Anyways, the fight scenes are well angled and portrayed, and the major scenes that occur between Rem, Subaru, and occasionally Amelia are specifically designed to bring out emotions, whether they be the best or the worst of them. This anime at times has a lot of psychological horror elements involved, so there was a good deal of suspense that kept me watching in interest rather than just to finish it. With this all being said, I have to say that ReZero is definitely one of the best animes that I've seen in the past year, and probably one of the top 5 made in 2016. If you haven't already seen it, then I highly recommend that you at least watch the first few episodes while keeping in mind that the plot doesn't really accelerate until the 4th or 5th episode, with the most emotional and badass episodes of the anime being a little bit over the halfway mark and onwards. The animation on this show is just amazing, and when combined with the music and the dialogue, the guys over at White Fox nailed a lot of these scenes, and I hate to admit it, but one of the episodes just gave me so much of the feels that I just started crying when I was watching it, and now that I'm looking back at it, I realize, Man, it's been a while since I've really cried watching anything, and I really do have to give credit to the creators over at White Fox, as if you can create something where you get your audience to feel the emotions that the main protagonist is feeling, then you're doing a good job. Now, that's all I really have to say about this anime. I don't want to give too much away like I said before, and to make it easier for you guys to check this out, I left a Kiss anime link down below in the description, so if you want to go ahead and watch, it's very easy. All you gotta do is go on the website. And finally, before I go, if you drop a like in this video, you will not only be supporting me, KingNo the anime indulging loser, but you'll also be getting your very own Rem waifu pillow, fully equipped with a built-in heater and a voice AI that replicates Rem's voice. Oh my god, no. I'm completely kidding. Who the fuck would actually want a Rem waifu pillow?
This song's dedicated to my waifu. Yeah. Tootie girl, you on my mind. Why won't you come be mine? I'll be your simp, I love you, always be right by your side. I think it's about that time that you go cross that line. This 3D PD shit, I ain't with it cause you too fine. So I wrote this little rhyme, I hope you tryna get with it. Cause simp, I've been so strung out on this real life shit, it's